So a wire connects the top of a flagpole to the ground as shown. What is closest to the H or height of the flagpole? So in this problem, we have a right angle, we have a right triangle, and we need to figure out what is this missing side. What is this missing side that's labeled as H, or height? So whenever we have a right triangle and we're trying to figure out the missing side, we need to use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem is on your formula sheet that you will get on the SOL. It is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a couple of things to remember about the Pythagorean theorem. The a, the b, and the c, they all stand for something. The a and the b, these are the legs. These are the legs, and the legs are next to or adjacent the right angle. So here's the right angle. So our 5 meters, that's a leg, and our H is also a leg. C is the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is always the longest side, and it's always opposite the right angle. So our right angle is there. The 10 is opposite the right angle. I'm just going to abbreviate HYP, that's the hypotenuse. So we need to make sure when we're solving for a missing leg or hypotenuse, we need to make sure that we plug in the two lengths that we know in the right spot. So our 5 is one of our legs. So we can't plug in the 5 for C, that's the hypotenuse, it's one of our legs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you plug it in for the A or the B. I'm just going to plug it in for the A. Now in this problem, we know the hypotenuse. We know that the hypotenuse is C. So that 10, we're plugging that 10 in for the C, not the B, because we're solving for one of the missing legs. The legs are A and B. So that 10 I plugged in for C, the hypotenuse. So we're going to solve for our missing leg. We're going to solve for that H or our B. We're going to solve for that. So I plugged in the 5 and the 10 into the right spot, and now I just have some stuff I need to square. So 5 squared is 25, and then 10 squared is 100. So I've created this little equation for myself. I need to solve for B. It's b squared right now. Eventually I'm going to solve for b, but I need to get that b squared by itself first. So I need to get rid of that 25. I'm going to subtract 25 on both sides. So I'm just solving this little equation for b. 100 minus 25, obviously is 75. So I'm left with b squared equals 75. I'm not worried about what b squared is, I'm worried about what b is. I just want one of those legs, which is just b. So the opposite of squaring something, if I want to undo that square to just make it b, I'm going to take the square root. When I take the square root of b squared, it just becomes b. And then on your calculator, it's not going to be a perfect square. It's not going to be a whole number. So if you plug it in on your calculator, it's going to tell you what it's going to be right as a decimal. So I got 8 points. I'm going to round it to the hundredths. 8.66 meters. And your answer needs to make sense. The hypotenuse is the longest side. So if you're solving for one of the legs, it cannot be longer than the hypotenuse. So we are good because the hypotenuse is 10. 8.66 is less than 10.